Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD Starcraft, of course, and I am here for another Heart of the Storm broadcast. This is going to be Game 2, continuing on from the previous game I just casted with Jaedong and Bomber. Jaedong is going to be the blue Zerg player at the top right-hand corner of Star Station, and his opponent is going to be, of course, Bomber, the red Terran player, in the bottom left-hand corner. And let's go ahead and get ready to start Game 2 here. Jaedong now, officially on my YouTube channel, is 0-5 in ZvTs. So, you know, obviously that his overall lifetime career win rate in Zerg vs Terran is like 66% or something like that in Brood War. So it doesn't really damage his you know, his appeal or his win or his statistics, his numbers that badly, but just saying that Jaedong needs to figure out a way to deal with the ever prevalent Marine Widowmine style that has become really the staple of Terran versus Zerg here. And to be honest with you guys, I actually saw Bomber producing a siege tank at first, and you know, I kind of had these, this kind of not nauseated, but nostalgic feelings that Bomber was going to go for a classic Terran versus Zerg style. That wasn't the case. He just kind of made a tank or two, I think, for early defense, and then he basically went into what every Terran is doing now, and that is Widowmine Marine, and it is good. It is very good. So, yeah, it's so good that Jaedong cannot deal with it still, and he's trying to figure out how to. I mean, you know, most Zergs are kind of playing around with Banelings, Mutas, Zerglings, and that's the kind of way that Jaedong has been going for. But the problem, you know, with Banelings and Zerg, every Zerg ground unit just blows up when it comes to Widowmines. The power of the Widowmine, it's burrowed underground, it's hard to see, you have to bring Overseers with your army. On top of that, once they detonate on your Zerg armies, you know, most of them are going to die. It all kind of compounds onto each other, and then once all your Zerglings and your Banelings die, you've just got Mutas versus Marines. That doesn't play out too well either. Ultralisks are actually fairly good against Widowmine Marine. You might not think it, but they are. Ultras just soak up Widowmines because they're just huge. You know, they have like 600 HP. They're not going to die to mine. So if Jaedong can get up to Ultras, you know, we saw him, I think, do that in Game 3 versus Polt. It was either Game 2 or Game 3. It still didn't pan out for him, but I think that was the game where he had the best shot of beating Polt. If he can get up to Hive Tech and get some Ultras on the field, or even Broodlords, you know, I think that, you know, Widowmines are terrible against Broodlords. Let's just get that, you know, fact out there. Because if you try to get a mine under a Broodlord, it's impossible, because the Broodlings will prevent that. And usually Broodlords are so slow and you have Overseers with them, they're not going to die to mines, okay? So, and on top of that, mines can self-detonate on the Broodlings when they come onto your Marine army, and that just has some friendly fire nasty side effects. So all of those things make Broodlords a very good option as well, but the problem is, how does a Zerg player get there before dealing with the inevitable mid-game push that the Terrans do, which is, of course, the Marine Mine push. And that's really the struggle now that Jaedong has to solve. He is going to be bringing some Zerglings over here to this expansion. Oh man, will he be able to block it? No, it looks like he is going to he's going to run into the main base here. What the hell is going on? But of course there are a few Marines here, and with the Congo line of SCVs coming out as well, you know, it's going to be pretty hard for these Zerglings to get much damage done. But at least they're going to get a decent scout. And they're actually going to see the macro CC coming up here. Now, this is not a luxury that a lot of Zergs get, I mean, unless they are willing to send in multiple Overlords and find out what's going on. But this is not a luxury a lot of Zergs get, knowing that their opponent has gone for a macro CC. Now, Jaedong, knowing this, he's seen the third command center. He has a couple options here. He can actually go all in and try to end the game straight up, and you can see that Bomber knows that his macro CC was scouted, and because he knows it was scouted, he is going to fortify up his wall here with a bunch of barracks and a bunker to boot as well. So he is basically making it almost impossible for Jaedong to go for an all-in here and win the game. So he's really covering every possibility here. Very smart play by Bomber. And I don't think he would have done this if you know, his third command center wasn't scouted. Because it was scouted, because it was seen, Bomber is adapting quite nicely here, and of course these barracks are going to come in handy once he wants to start to produce some Marines. So this is all making a lot of good sense here from Startail Bomber. And really, for the next, I think, 5 minutes or so, Bomber isn't going to attack. He's not going to do anything but sit back on his 3 command centers and mule an SCV up. And that is going to be the strategy here for him. And I think maybe Jaedong, he needs to double expand here. And I don't see like a Baneling Nest or a Roach Warren, so I don't think he's planning to all in. And since he's not planning to do that, I definitely think he needs to get another hatchery down pretty soon here and really drone the hell up. And right now he's actually at 52 drones, not bad, but you can see that Bomber's just right on his heels in terms of workers, and the worker count in StarCraft 2, you know, a game based on economy and warfare, you know, it's very important to keep up with workers against your opponent. If you don't, yeah, it has some serious adverse effects. It's like a snowball that gets bigger and bigger as it rolls down the hill. So very important here that that Jaedong, I think, gets a 4th hatchery up and drones it like crazy. But we'll see. He's actually going to add on a Baneling Nest now. He's also getting +1/+1. And here's the thing, Bomber's going for that 3rd CC. And, you know, once again, Bomber going for the quick expo out to the pocket expansion. And both players are on 3 bases right now. This is the same deficiency that Jaedong has faced in the last couple of games I've casted. And I feel like, you know, a lack of expansions and therefore translating into a lack of supply in the late game. So we'll see here if he can adapt, but he is going to go for Spire. All right, so we're going to see a fairly quick Spire here. Notably going to be seeing Mutalisks coming out. And if he can get some Mutas into the enemy expansions and take out a lot of SCVs, he might be in good shape. But, and yes, he is going to be going for a 4th hatchery. So there it is, 4th hatchery on the way. I mean, it is a little late, I feel like, but, you know, better late than never, I guess. And we'll see what happens here. But Jaedong is trying to see what he can do. He did run over to this expansion, and look at this, Bomber, you know, very good with his buildings. So he's got supply depots placed in such ways that makes it very hard for Zerglings to just run in there straight up and kill off SCVs. So very intelligent. He's actually retrofitted his wall here with, well, downgraded, if you will, with supply depots and bunkers, but making it, of course, easier for his troops to get outside. And now at this point, you know, the possibility of a Baneling bust or anything like that is 0. So Bomber doesn't have to worry about having a super wall up here anymore. As both players realize, okay, this is going to be a mid to late game affair. And Jaedong, of course, is banking up. I would imagine he's got 900 gas, so he is going to have about 9 Mutalisks coming out here as soon as that Spire finishes. And his mutas are now beginning production. Of course, that medevac is on the way, taking the southern route, and is going to make its way over to the right-hand side of the Zerg main base. And Jaedong here, will he be prepared for this? His mutas are going to be out just in time, I think. And when the mutas come out, I would imagine that this medevac is probably not going to get much accomplished. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side of the map, we do have some Banelings are going to be rolling into this expansion, and they are going to take out the supply depot. So the supply depot wall has been crashed through, and now here comes the Banelings going into the SCVs, excuse me, not able to accomplish much. Meanwhile, the medevac that was on the right-hand side of the map does get cleaned up by the Mutalisks. Very nice job by Jaedong there, realizing that there is a medevac over there, and he was able to take it out. Meanwhile, he sends in the remainder of his Zerglings to take out the burning buildings, and he doesn't really put Bomber under supply or anything like that. In fact, he didn't even really kill any workers. So in reality, those Banelings and Zerglings ended up costing Jaedong a lot more than their total worth, because they didn't actually get any damage done. So Jaedong right there, a bit unfortunate for him that those Zerglings and Banelings didn't get much done, but we'll see what Bomber does here. Very nice defense by him, I must say. His Marine count now is starting to really build up. He's got 50 Marines on the field. Widowmine production and drilling claws are now on the way as well. Quad reactor cores coming down. That effectively doubles Marine production here for Bomber. And it's just a very similar style to Polt, man. Mid-game, get Marine Widowmines and pump like no other. So this is going to be hard for Jaedong to deal with, but I will say, look at the creep thread from Jaedong. Very nice. He's got spreading going basically in every route possible in Star Station. You know, not an easy thing to do, but he is on top of it. And Polt now is going to begin to push out. He's got more tank support this time around than he did in the first game, but he's also got Widowmine support as well. This is just great for these Marines. If they need to fall back, they basically get to retreat into an entrenched line of tanks and mines. And here comes Jaedong, though. He says he's not going to wait for the Terran to set up. He's just going to go in. But I don't think this is going to be too effective for him. Bomber's spread is just so good and really mitigating losses quite nicely there. Didn't lose much at all. He's going to continue to march his army forward, and no doubt he's going to drop some comsats as well to take out Jaedong's creep tumors. Very nice job by Bomber. And now going to unsiege the tanks and bring them up to continue supporting the slow push. Very, very nice by Bomber. Plus 2 weapons just finishing for his army as well. More Banelings coming crashing through, and they are going to be able to take out a decent number of tanks, mines, and Marines. Very nicely done by Jaedong, seeing a soft point right there in the Terran lines and moving in and attacking. He's also still got his Mutalisk army still in full force. He is going to bring everything in here. Very risky play from Jaedong, but he takes out the medevacs in the air, and that was pretty nice because these Marines do not have any medevac support. In fact, if we look at the units tab right now, only 2 medevacs on the field, and they are not with the Terran army, probably on the way from the Terran lines. But in the meantime, these Marines are not reinforced at all, so they cannot overstim, and Jaedong, taking advantage of the lack of medevacs, takes out the entire Marine army on the creep, and now is going to be able to slowly push the Terran army back. A bit of a tug-of-war game going on here between this very high-caliber Zerg and Terran. Very nice job by both players, and Bomber realizing, hey, I just lost the majority of my army. I'm just going to go ahead and pull back here and, you know, maybe focus on taking out these tumors, which, you know, they're planted all over the middle of the map. The further in you push with Marines on the creep, you know, the more risky it gets. It's basically like going in the dark, because you never know when a Zerg army can come around and just surround you in very, very quick time. So Bomber, I think, you know, taking out some of these tumors would be a good idea. He's actually going to go to the left-hand side here where oh my god, there are Banelings up here on the high ground. And they're going to roll right into this expansion, and it looks like Bomber pulls his SCVs just in time. 3 of them almost going down, but nicely done by Startail Bomber, who still, as of yet, has only lost 1 SCV this entire game. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Both players' economies have basically been undamaged. And when you see 2 players of this caliber with economies that have not been touched at all, you are really going to be in store for a really good game, because both players here basically have extremely powerful economies back at home. They don't have to worry about harassing or getting harassed, and they could just focus everything on macro and big army versus big army. And here we go. Bomber really deep in the creep here. Doesn't have any tanks, but he does have some mines underground. Jaedong now setting up and preparing to surround this army, but you can see Bomber has a very nice spread. He's also got more reinforcements down here as well behind this little concavity in the middle of Star Station. And here comes Jaedong. He's coming in from all angles. He's gonna bring in some changings as well, and just for fun, I guess. And these mutas and Zerglings, most of them all going down to the Widow Mines, and Jaedong once again just getting overwhelmed by the explosive firepower of these Widow Mines. Not to mention the Marines are at 3-2, so they do have an upgrade advantage over the Zerg army. And Jaedong once again forced to retreat from his expansion. It looks like he's going to lose a hatchery here, unless Jaedong can come in at the last second and save it, but the hatchery is going to go down, and the hatchery falls. Jaedong loses one of his critical expansions. He is at a loss right now. He's under supply as well compared to Bomber, and Jaedong, I don't know what he's going to be able to do about this. Bomber has taken the initiative. You can see here that he's also regrouping with his forces on his side of the map, trying to make sure he doesn't get cut off by the Zerg army, and he has basically cleared up any Zerg nuisance that is in between his main army and his reinforcements, and now his reinforcements are going to conglomerate with the remaining Marines, and this is just such a scary army. What in the hell is Jaedong going to do? He is going to once again try to cut off the reinforcements with the Zerglings, and his Mutalisk going to go into this expansion, going to try to go eye for an eye, but of course, if he does that, that. Then Bomber gets a free pass into the expansions and the main base, and Jaedong, realizing that, has to run his drones away. Gonna lose a ton of them on the way out, but at the very least he does kill off this orbital command, and he kills off a ton of SCVs that were underneath it as well. But that is about it. He's run out of Zerglings, and Man's gonna have to retreat with his Mutalisks now. And wow, Jaedong is now down to only 2 bases. Bomber has 2 bases only as well, which is, you know, both players are on 2 bases now. They're running on fumes, if you will. But both players have sizable armies. I would say Bomber, of course, has a much larger one at 190 supply. But nevertheless, Jaedong does have a lot of Banelings, and if he has these Brood Banelings in the proper position, then Bomber could get, you know, he could end up getting owned by these Banelings, but it looks like his Marines just go to the side and aren't going to be bothered by that. And Jaedong now really trying to rely quite heavily on his Brood Banelings, and he's going to try to set the tarp here. Oh my god, he misses! And Jaedong just, unfortunate for him that he, you know, that those Marines did not run over the Banelings, and more Marines coming around here. You know, there are still Brood Banelings underground. You can see there are 2 right here. But Jaedong is just running out of army here. He's only at 146 supply. And Bomber continues to push in and apply pressure with his Marines. Look at the spread of these Marines and the Widow Mines. I mean, how in the hell does Jaedong deal with this? I don't think it's possible. And Bomber with just an incredible, very high-class Starcraft 2. And it's almost just making it impossible for any Zerg to deal with. And it looks like he's going to push in here. That Widow Mine doing a little bit more damage to his own units than it should have. But Jaedong realizing here, hey, Bomber is still on 2 bases. Actually, the 3rd base is back up and running. Bomber is on 2.5 bases-ish. If I can run in and attack here and go eye for an eye, maybe I can take this game, and he's going to come crashing through with these Banelings. And, oh man, he just runs out of firepower. Most of the Banelings going down there to the Widow Mines. And Jaedong once again is forced to retreat. In the meantime, his natural expansion has been breached along with the main base. These man, those Banelings are explosive. A couple more over here as well, but Jaedong has to call GG. Doesn't have enough Brood Banelings. You know, if he had planted like 4 or 5 on the ramp here, that would have been really nice to see. But that did not happen, and Jaedong now down 2 games in this set. Bomber is victorious, and we are going to go on to Game 3. I hope you guys enjoyed. And of course, this is HD, and I'm signing out.